What's up, Doc? What's cooking? What's up, Doc?
I thought I saw a pretty cat. I did saw a pretty cat.
You gotta keep your eye on the ball. Eyeball.
He brought them from the stage where they're pen and ink characters to moving, living, breathing personalities.
We shall make it together the drama mellow.
I'm not angry, just terribly, terribly hurt.
You're despicable.
Mel was astounding in the number of voices he could do.
I am known as the man with 1,000 voices. Shall I do my stuff?
Yes, go right ahead.
That's a joke, son. That's a joke,
What's
that
up,
is.
Doc?
Yes, that's a joke.
Everybody
wants to get into the act.
I mean, people think he's just a voice, but you can't have a voice like that with all those characters without being a wonderful actor. And Mel Blanc was a great actor.
What's Humphrey Bogart got that I ain't got?
That's all, folks.
No, oh no, that is not all, folks. That's just the beginning. I mean, how could it be all when more than 20 million people a day watch those crazy characters and hear that voice? There's more here than meets the eye or ear. One voice behind all those charming personalities and wild speech impediments. That one elastic and irreplaceable voice belonged to Mel Blanc. Hi, I'm Maestro Dick Bright, and I'm proud to be your host tonight for our tribute to Mel Blanc. We lost Mel at the age of 81, but as Yosemite Sam might say, he died with his boots on, working right up to the day he went into the hospital. And tonight, we take an in-depth look at that half-century genius that gave us the voices of Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Yosemite Sam, Foghorn Leghorn, Tweety Bird, Woody Woodpecker, Sylvester the Cat, Speedy Gonzales, the Roadrunner, Barney Rubble, Mr. Spacely, the Tasmanian Devil, and Pepe Le Pew. Whew. Tonight, a look at all those Looney Tunes. And again, that's not all, folks. We'll talk to Mel's son, his friends, and his colleagues. They'll give you a picture of the real Mel Blanc. We'll track Mel from his birth in San Francisco, to his early days in Hollywood, to his coronation as the king of cartoons. And tonight, for the first time on television, you'll see and hear Mel's last recording. You know, as host of TV-20's Cartoon Classics, I've seen how those Looney Tunes still touch the lives of today's kids. That touch transcends generations.
My favorite character is Pepe Le Pew. He's so suave and debonair.
Bugs is it. You know, Fricker, Fracker, Firecracker, Shish Boom Bob, Bugs Bunny, rah, rah, rah. I was like Daffy Duck.
In a moment, how it all began. Stay tuned for a rare recording of Mel and music maker Spike Jones.
Clink, clink, no more to drink. I had a cellar full, but now it's gone.
In what's now a bustling business district, Mel Blanc's early years were spent in this neighborhood in San Francisco. Home was at the corner of Bush and Divisadero in the Western Addition, where as a child, Melvin Jerome Blanc was often mistaken as a girl. He was the youngest of two children. Whereas his older brother was tall and athletic, Mel was short and chubby. Rather than playing basketball, Mel preferred the violin.
My dad was talented even as a child. He was very musically oriented. In fact, he played a violin at a very early age and tuba, and he was the youngest conductor in the United States at one time at the Orpheum Theater when he was 19 years old. So he was very musically oriented, and I think that musical ear when he was a child helped him develop these voices even when he was a kid. So his childhood was filled with funny characters even then and dialects. And he said he got lousy marks, but he made everybody laugh.
Mel was only 15 when he created his first voice. The voice we now know as Woody Woodpecker almost got Mel kicked out of school.
And I remembered in school that I had a crazy laugh. I used to do it in the school, in the high school, and run down to the end of the hall to hear the echo. It would just echo all the way around. And I did that one time with that laugh, and I ran down the hall and I bumped right into the principal. He says, what are you running and laughing like crazy for? I said, well, I just wanted to hear myself on the act. He says, don't do it again or I'm going to have to kick you out of school. So never knowing that this would turn out to be the voice of Woody Woodpecker, which is a
Mel's break into radio came when his family moved to Oregon. He joined Portland's KGW Radio Orchestra and traded his violin for a tuba.
I eventually turned that into a lot of money because all of the big orchestras in the Pacific Northwest wanted good tuba players. And I was the first one they came to. So I played with some of the big bands in the Pacific Northwest. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
It was that excitement and later radio shows of his own that led Mel to believe he could make it in Hollywood. During his desperate search for work in L.A., Mel found the woman who would become his wife for life, Estelle Rosenbaum. Now, as a starving artist with a family on the way, Mel pounded the pavement even harder, pleading with director after director to give him a job.
So I went to Les Schlesinger, I think, was the head of it at the time. And I told him, I said, I'd like to audition for you. He said, well, we'll go to the man who calls in for auditions. He's the voice man. He picks out the different characters that he wants. So I went to see this guy, and I said, I'd like to audition for you and show you what I can do. He says, sorry, we've got all the voices we need. I said, but Mr. Schlesinger said that you were the one. He says, no, I'm sorry. He doesn't know all about it. I know about it. It doesn't cost me anything. I just hire these guys. So I said, well, don't you want to improve that? He says, we have all the voices we need.
Mel later would have one of his cartoon characters reenact those tough times.
Hollywood, the city of the cinema at last. Home of fame, fortune, and Lauren Bacall. Oh, I love you. I adore you.
You're such a sneak!
Well, Mel's persistence finally paid off. His big break came in radio, doing a weekly appearance on singer Johnny Murray's show, paying a whopping $35 a week. But that humble crumb led to an avalanche of work in radio.
In radio, Mel worked with the best, doing voices and comedy routines for George Burns and Gracie Allen on The Burns and Allen Show. Lucille Ball and Abbott and Costello followed. Mel's voice became a regular on radio. It was radio that brought Mel into the homes of millions. Most at that time were listening to The Jack Benny Show.
For heaven's sake. Anyway, Dan, it's time for you to do your song. And since this is the season's final show...
Jack, I think the sound man is trying to get your attention.
Oh, yes, he is. What is it, Twombly?
Well, this is the last show of the season, and all my relatives is listening in.
Well, that's nice.
No, it ain't. All they're hearing is people talking. They want to hear sound effects.
Look, Twombly.
Well, a guy imposes on all his friends and relatives and gets them to listen to this program, and what do you hear? Yakety, 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 yakety.
Look,
You may not know it, but in Canoga Park, I'm a big man.
He was just spectacular. And of course, the sound effects were incredible. I've heard him on the Jack Benny Show doing the old Maxwell House and what Mel could do with si, si, so, you know, and he would do it with a straight face. and his timing was absolutely perfect.
Jack Benny and my dad were close friends. They had been since the time that Jack interviewed him on the show, and he did one voice, Carmichael the Bear, for 6 months. Then he said, you know, Mr. Benny, I can do other voices too. And he did everything from the train caller to the parrot to his violin teacher. But Jack was a close friend too, and during the summers, we'd all go up to my dad's cabin up at Big Bear, and my dad and mom and Jack and his wife and his daughter would all water ski, and we'd sit on the porch, and Jack would play his violin, and Dad would play his violin, and I'd play a ukulele, and my mom would, you know, sing, and we'd all sing. We'd sing songs all night long up there.
Mel became known in Hollywood as the man who could do anything. His popularity grew, and so did the respect he got from others. Music maker Spike Jones noticed Mel's many talents and asked this budding star to join him on stage in the musical Clink Clink.
Over the teeth behind the gums, look out stomach, here she comes. I have another drink on me.
Clink, clink, the glasses clink. Like the anvil chorus and my head is splitting. Breaky, busting. Oh, brother. Oh, ow. What do I do now? Pink elephants are running after me. Though that stuff was smooth as silk, from now on I'll stick to milk. Nothing else to drink for me.
In 1937, at the age of 27, Mel landed a role in his first cartoon called Picador Porky.
Hello, Mr. Hello, Leon.
Then, Warner's director Frank Taslan asked Mel to voice the part of a drunken bull.
He said, I've got a cartoon coming up with a drunken bull. Do you think you can do the voice of a drunken bull? I thought, Jesus, my first assignment, I hope it goes over, you know. So I said, yeah, I think I could. He says, how would he talk? He would talk like it was a little and looking for the looking for the sour max. He says, great. He says, what do you do next Tuesday? I wasn't doing a damn thing. I said, I think I can make it. That was my first voice in cartoons, that of a drunken bull.
This cartoon catapulted Mel's career. He later would give birth to a barnyard of other characters, including a wise-cracking wabbit. When we come back, the beginning of Bugs.
Pardon me, Doc. Fresh out of carrots.
What's up, Doc?
What's up, Doc? Listen, stranger. This town ain't big enough for the two of us.
It ain't? Pardon me, Mac. Now is it big enough?
Almost everyone's favorite folly became Mel's favorite. Out of the more than 900 characters Mel could do, it is said that Bugs stole Mel's heart.
Everywhere you go, everybody knows Bugs Bunnies. They don't know Mel Blanc. But they know Bugs Bunny, and everybody knows that.
Bugs was more popular, and he identified with Bugs because he was cute and could get the best of anybody as far as humor goes. He was always one line ahead of the next. He had this he had Bugs Bunny's wit for himself.
Yeah, that's it. Chin, you lose.
But the Bugs Bunny we all know and love today was not always a wisecracking crazy rabbit.
Don't forget to write once in a while. Taxi!
Do you like blackberry pie?
No. Did you say blackberry pie? Yummy. We'll have some!
In fact, the first Bugs, then called Happy Rabbit, was so unpopular, Warner's almost got rid of him.
And the original Bugs Bunny had long, buck teeth. So if you see some of the real original 1939 Bugs Bunny 40 cartoons, he talked like this, and you couldn't understand him too well. And what's that, Doc? And it was a very weird, different kind of a voice.
What's up, Doc? There's a wabbit down there. and I'm trying to catch him. What do you mean, wabbit?
Finally, they shaved the teeth down, and then what's up, Doc? It changed.
Next.
With those few changes and Mel's ingenious additions, Bugs quickly became a character we all know and love.
Bugs is a mirror reflection of a lot of people. A lot of people can identify with him. He represents all of us. He represents the everyman. He's a guy who lives in a hole. He's poor. And the world is out there and is against him, and he fights back. And that's basically why I identify with Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, Bugs had, Dad used to say he had the crust to do what other characters never did have the guts to do. He could do anything. He got the best of any situation. Whatever happened, Bugs got the best. Bugs is everyone's great alter ego, to come out the champion.
This one. You know, sometimes me conscience kind of bothers me. But not this time.
Once the war started, Bugs was used as a national hero. There were many cartoons where he really took Tojo and Mussolini and Hitler and gave it to him. And there were drawings of these people where he was just punching them out. And Bugs was wearing the Uncle Sam uniform and being very, very patriotic and getting the best of the Axis powers.
As the war continued, Bugs emerged as the hero again, keeping the country's morale up and single-handedly, some say, boosting the sale of war bonds.
They loved Bugs. He became a symbol of the war effort, the power of the United States, and he also was used to obtain money for the war bond effort. There's a clip that I hope you can get with Bugs, Porky, and Elmer singing, "Any bonds today," and it's really cute. It's like a 2-minute thing, and they showed it in every theater in the United States.
Any bonds today? Bonds of freedom, that's what I'm selling. Any bonds today? Scrape up the most you can. Here comes the freedom man, asking you to buy your share of freedom today. Many stamps today. Give kiddies. We'll be blessed. We all invest in the USA. Sammy, my Uncle Sammy.
Here comes the freedom man.
Can't make tomorrow's plan. Not unless you buy a share of freedom today. Any stamps, any bonds today.
Well, now we've seen Bugs from his beginnings as an adolescent and as a warrior patriot. Now let's take a look at the wise-quacking wabbit we all know and love. Here's Bugs and his arch-nemesis Elmer Fudd in a classic cartoon, Unruly Hair. Believe it or not, it took nearly 20 years of shotgun blasts, falling anvils, exploding dynamite to get the attention of the Motion Picture Academy. But finally, in 1958, the Academy awarded Bugs and Company the coveted Oscar. Bugs Bunny may have been Mel's favorite, but Daffy Duck and Porky Pig certainly aren't far behind.
Porky Pig's original character was a huge, cumbersome, overeating, jowl-like, bovine pig. If you could be that way, it was, you know, that's all, folks. You know, it was like, you could eat the whole, you know, lot. And they finally made him into a cute character.
Oh, well, pussycats will be prepared. Will be kittens. Pardon me, but does anyone in the audience know somebody who knows somebody that has a house to rent?
Shoot him now! Shoot him now! You keep out of this. He doesn't have to shoot you now. He just so have to shoot me now. So shoot me now! You're despicable.
One of my dad's favorite cartoons was a cartoon based on Robin Hood and that whole era. And Porky Pig played Friar Tuck, and Daffy Duck was just totally insane. And all these characters were from that wonderful time in England when Robin Hood existed, and they gave to the poor and took from the rich. And I think you should see it because some of the lines are wonderful.
Join up with me, so joyous and free. Let's away to old Sherwood High. For I'm Robin Hood, and I'm very good at avoiding the sheriff's eye. So we'll trip along merrily, or the greensward so gracefully. To trip it, trip it, trip it, trip it up and down. To trip it, 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 whoops, trip it, 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 trip it. So trip it up and Ho, ho, and ha-ha. I'll ho-ho and ha-ha you, fat friar. With my trusty quarterstaff. Actually, it's a $1.25 quarterstaff, but I'm not telling him that. Ho, ha-ha, guard, turn, parry, dodge, spin, ha, thrust. Let's see now. Something amiss here. I'll run through it. Ho, ha-ha, guard, turn, parry, dodge, spin, ha, thrust. Got it. Now then. Ho, ha-ha, guard, turn, parry, dodge, spin. Oh, knock it off. How jolly can you get? I thought I saw a pussycat. I did saw a pussycat.
Mel played multiple roles in many cartoons. He voiced the sounds of Tweety Bird and Tweety's flailing feline, Sylvester.
Oh, come on. Stand still. How do you expect me to grasp you when you jump around like a flea on a hot brick?
It was pretty amazing that he could do such a range of characters, from Bugs Bunny to Yosemite Sam to Tweety Bird. Tweety has the some of the brashness of Bugs Bunny, but hidden in a little baby's exterior. Tweety gets up, and I taught a putty tat. And finally, when the putty tat is about to pounce, Tweety will pull out a dynamite stick or do some outrageous thing you wouldn't expect a little innocent character to do. So in a way, Tweety is to cartoons what I guess Charles Bronson is to movie, kind of in a sort of a Death Wish type character.
old putty cat.
Mel was the only one, and he was smart, who had screen credit. And so Mel was ostensibly the star of the films.
Mel was the star, bringing to life hundreds of Warner Brothers characters, like a rooster named Foghorn Leghorn.
My pa used to tell me shut up, and I'd shut up. I wouldn't say nothing. One time darn near starved to death.
A French lover called Pepe Le Pew.
Ah, the birth of a notion. Ah.
A Mexican mouse named Speedy Gonzales.
Are you sure you don't want it? Ole, arriba, epa, arriba, andale.
And who can forget Cowboy Yosemite Sam, the hardest voice for Mel to do.
Yeah, Yosemite Sam. The roughest, toughest he-man, stuffest hombre has ever crossed the Rio Grande. And I ain't no mamby-pamby.
They told me he was only about 2 feet tall. They showed me his picture, and he had a big red mustache and guns out of his pocket. He was a little cowboy. And I thought to myself, how am I going to make him noticeable on the screen? What kind of a voice can I give him? And I thought for a minute, I think I got it. So what would you say? My name's Yosemite Sam. I'm the roughest, toughest cowboy that ever shot a gumdrop.
Yeah, them's fighting words.
I dashed you to step across this line.
I'm a steppin'. I hate you.
Everyone in my generation grew up with cartoons on television, and Warner Brothers cartoons in particular. There was always something about the Warner cartoons that stood out.
Well, the Warner Brothers studios, I like their cartoons the most because they managed to mix what Disney was doing artistically with what Columbia Pictures was doing in humor into one cartoon, where you had attractive backgrounds and drawing and great storylines and wild humor.
Don't you... Me, Buster.
Mel remained captain of the Warner's team, but as TV's popularity grew, he signed on with other studios, including Hanna-Barbera, to create a new generation of characters, from Roadrunner to Speed Buggy and Heathcliff the Cat and Mr. Spacely. Let's take a look.
Sorry, Jetson. I've been meaning to have that chair fixed. Anyway, I've got a surprise for you.
Yeah, I just had one. Oh, yeah, the other one. I've been expecting it.
Not this one. Take a peek.
Hey, it's some kind of a brain.
Very clever, Jetson.
You're not going to pull that old gag on me, are you, son? Do you know what I did to the last guy that tried that? Why, I tore him limb from limb. Meep, meep.
Now you see why Mel is called the man of 1,000 voices. In a moment, how that voice was almost silenced.
Friends and fans of Mel Blanc woke up to terrible news January 25, 1961. The man known as the voice of Bugs Bunny and other characters was in a coma in UCLA's medical center.
But he was driving to a recording session in Hollywood at about 8 o'clock at night, and he was really early, so he was taking his time. And a kid jumped a double line, another lane, in the third lane, and hit him head-on in a giant car. He was in a small Aston Martin that just folded right up. And it took him about 45 minutes to cut him out of the car. They didn't think he was alive. He had lost 9 pints of blood, and he had literally every bone in his body broken, except his left arm, which must have been outside the window. And the emergency people there said that there's no chance. They called in a team of doctors and surgeons at that time, and they said, well, there's no way he's going to live. He's broken every bone in his body. On top of that, he had a triple skull fracture, and the pressure was building up on his brain. And there were obituaries written that night about him. He was 53 years old at that time.
But like Bugs Bunny, Mel was a fighter. 21 days later, Mel made a remarkable recovery. His son Noel was at his bedside.
One morning, this is a true story because I was there, the doctor came up to him, and there was a Bugs Bunny television show going on the television set. At that time, the Bugs Bunny show was on. And he shouted, "Bugs, wake up, Bugs." And my dad looked up and did, "Me, what's up, Doc?" And he came out of the coma that way, literally.
Mel remained in a full body cast for 9 months, but that didn't stop him from doing what he does best. From his bedside, cast members came to record episode after episode of the Flintstones.
I hate to admit it, Wilma, but I'm pooped.
Mel played Barney Rubble and the Flintstones' pet dinosaur, Dino.
I promise, Betty, I ain't gonna listen to that Fred again.
They did all the Flintstone shows that most of them that you see from his bed with a cast gathered around him, him suspended in this plaster of Paris prison, and all the cast around him doing the Flintstone shows until 2 in the morning at his bedroom in Pacific Palisades. For 9 months, they did 40 shows at the house.
It was after his near-fatal collision that friends say Mel's outlook on life changed.
After my dad had the accident on Dead Man's Curve, I think his outlook changed quite a bit. He realized that he came this far away from death, and he began to give back more to the public than he ever did before.
That may explain why Mel befriended a 26-year-old Sacramento State film student, granting Glenn Pitts a special videotaped interview, a coup which outclassed his classmates.
Sitting next to the guy, that meant a lot to me.
Pitts, now a 39-year-old teacher and film collector, still wonders why Mel so willingly helped him.
To this day, I can't say that I will ever know why Mel Blanc accepted me, why he took me in as a friend. It's easy for me to take him in, but I feel it was probably something very special for him to do this.
Throughout the years, Mel and Glenn remain friends. From his Stockton, California home, Glenn has managed to keep every possible memento from the relationship. There are letters from Mel, an enlarged photo of Mel, and pictures with Mel and Glenn's 2 sons. 10-year-old Chris still remembers that first meeting.
An honor. It's like an honor. Yes.
Why?
Because he's just so neat. He would talk in Bugs Bunny's voice and Sylvester's and Tweety and characters like that. Mel was a special friend of mine, and I like his characters the best.
We went to lunch on one occasion in Beverly Hills, and I guess it was a lunch like not any different from anything else, but while we were eating, Mel would pause and look up and come off with one of his characters and then go back to eating again. And I look out the corner of my eye, and people in the restaurant are looking around to see where this noise was coming from. And he would do this 2 or 3 times. He had this talent of throwing his voice, and no one knew where it was coming from.
What about all of that?
And it was quite amazing. I've always been under the impression that if one thing ever really bothered Mel, it was the fact that most everyone worldwide knew his voice, but I felt that he had a problem with being recognized.
Do you know me? Would you believe I'm Bugs Bunny? I'm also the voice of many other cartoon characters, but in here they don't care if I'm Daffy Duck. Despicable. So I carry an American Express card.
Most of America got a good look at the voice behind Bugs Bunny when Mel made this commercial for American Express. Even Mel admits that this 30-second TV spot gave him more public exposure than his nearly 50 years in radio and cartoons.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
And the commercials continued. In San Francisco, Mel became the famous cow for Berkeley Farms radio spots.
Farms in Berkeley?
Meantime, down south in Los Angeles, recognition was finally coming as Mel received his star on Hollywood's famous Walk of Fame. And he starred in this 1969 episode of the Beverly Hillbillies. Mel played the crazy cab driver.
Oh, howdy there. Come in, come in.
Reckon you're the young fellow that brought Granny home. My name's Jed Clampett.
Oh, hi.
I don't believe they caught your name.
It's, Burton.
Burton, huh? What's your first name?
Richard.
Mr. Burton. Dick Burton?
That's right, and my wife's name is Elizabeth.
Well, doggy, Liz and Dick Burton. You know there's another Liz and Dick Burton?
Despite the host of awards that would follow, Mel was still a little insecure.
That insecurity in public life didn't prevent Mel from doing what he did best, bringing cartoon lunacy to life. And he did that right up to 1988, when Mel made his last premiere in movie theaters in the award-winning film Roger Rabbit.
What the hell is wrong with that take?
Nothing with you, baby Herman. You were great. You were perfect. You were better than perfect. Just Roger. He keeps blowing his lines. Roger, what's this? A tweeting bird. Tweeting bird. Roger, read the script. Look what it says. It says rabbit gets clunked. Rabbit sees stars. Not birds. Stars! Can we lose the playback, please? Roger, you're killing me. Killing me.
For crying out loud, Roger! How many times do we have to do this damn scene? Go! I'll be in my trailer, taking a nap. Excuse me,
Please, Raoul, I can give you stars. Just drop the refrigerator in my head one more time.
Roger, I got on your head 23 times already.
I can take it. Don't worry about me.
How would Bugs say it?
Hey, Doc, we are the new generation of olds. Yeah,
Let me try that voice. Hey, Doc, we're the new generation of olds. Is that any good?
Yeah, we are. We are the new generation of olds?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
We're the new generation of olds. The director there is out pulling his hair, but we're going to do this commercial anyhow.
What hair? Oh, he's got...
It's that one. It's not the art director. Lift your head up a little. Okay. Okay, what do you think? How would Yosemite Sam say this?
We are the new generation of olds.
Look at the dealer right there and talk to him.
We are the new generation of olds.
Now you heard that, you better believe it. We are, and we're going to try to do this commercial, but it's tough. Anyway, we got this director.
Tough, he says. Very simple. We've only been on it about 27 hours.
Mel's last recording was this car commercial, made with his son Noel.
Getting a straight answer out of my dad isn't easy. I tell him I'm buying a new car, and he says, "Suffer and fuckatash, get a comfortable car." Get a comfortable car. Doc, get a gorgeous car. Get a reasonably priced car. No, I did. A new Cutlass Sierra. Great when you buy it, drive it, trade it. What more could a family want?
This is not your father's home. That's all, folks. This is the new generation of olds.
He couldn't wait to do this commercial because we had all the animated characters in the seat with us. And this was May 19th, when we did the commercial. And he looked a little peaked because he had the flu the week before. So I said, "Dad, why don't you go to the doctor and see what he said? I have to stay here and finish up the commercial." So he went to the doctor's office with 3 or 4 of the people that were working on the commercial. And the doctor says, "Well, anybody else I would send home with a shot, but let's keep you in the hospital for a day." He was in the hospital, and that night he fell out of bed. How it happened, we don't know. He literally fell out of bed. He broke his hip. He had some type of trauma, and he was never the same and went downhill. The last thing that he said, the last thing of recorded tape was film, which is very strange because he rarely went on camera, was, "That's all, folks," that he said on this piece of film for Oldsmobile, and that's it. That's the last character, that's the last thing he said.
Despite his death on July 10th, 1989, the voices of Bugs and some of the others will live on through Mel's son, Noel.
When I was like 4 years old, he was going down a road or something. He looked back at me and he said, "This is a long street. This is a long street. This is a long street. It never ends, you know." And I came back to him. I said, "It's a long turn right, turn left," or whatever it was. But it was something like that. That was really, he saw that I was copying him. So he really liked that.
But Noel is the first to admit he's no Mel Blanc.
I try to do some of the characters that my dad did because he did teach them to me. I tried to copy him. He was the master. But everybody has their own voice print. So even though I can get real close, it's still not him.
I don't think anybody could replace Mel. I think his son is going to carry on, and he's remarkable. But you know, there's only one individual, one person who does so much, and I don't think anybody can replace Mel.
Mel Blanc was for children, and children live for Mel Blanc and all of his works.
Mel's legacy will live on. He showed us life in capital letters. And the beautiful thing is that life as Mel lived it is here to stay, for us to embrace whenever we watch those crazy cartoons. There are some who believe that the Warner's Cartoon Studio, known affectionately as Termite Terrace, has a satellite office in heaven.
You know, there are so many people from Termite Terrace who are already up there in the great light box in the sky. And I'm sure they must have said, let's put on a film, but we can't do it without Mel. So I'm sure they're all up there making and producing a short for the delight of all the angels who can dance on the head of a pin.
That's all, folks.